Thank you so much. I think we are 13. Our speaker is already in the house, maybe just a minute or so. We should be getting to benefit from our speaker for today. And thank you so much for joining in this breakfast conversations. Every day, of course, every Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:30, we have CX, World of CX breakfast conversations. And thank you so very much for joining us today. Yes, maybe we'll just have one more person joining in and then we can just quickly jump into the meat proper of why we are gathering today. And we have an amazing speaker for today. Basically, this is an avid, um, she eats, sleeps, speaks, dreams, and walks CX. And we don't think there's a better person to speak to us on championing and becoming the CX champion other than her. So we have about 14 people. Maybe we can give it just a minute or so. I see Rose Kariuki joining in. Karibu Sana. Thank you very much for joining in. As I mentioned, thank you so much for braving it and coming in to join this morning conversations on CX. Matters CX. Sometimes it looks so complicated, yet it's in the easy terms how we make our customers feel, how we map our journey to give our customers a wow experience. But that cannot happen if we don't have someone championing that cause, someone standing out, putting out their sweat, tears, and putting out their neck for the customers. And so as we reach 20 people, our guest speaker today will be able to just walk us through the topic of the day. It's an amazing journey. It's interesting that CX will be here for the rest of our, as long as businesses abide, as long as there are customers, as long as there are people who trading, as long as the people exchanging services, products and services, customer experience will be here to go, and having a champion or someone to champion that cause will be important. We are 21 in the house, and I would like us to just quickly jump into what we are about. First of all, I'll walk us through what CX Academy Africa is about. We are dedicated to shaping the future of customer experience. Our programs definitely are designed to empower professionals at every level, providing them with skills and knowledge that are needed to excel in elevating the landscape of customer experience in Africa and beyond. Stories about Africa and CX have rarely been told, or they have been told, but we just want to amplify that voice. What we seek to do as CX Academy Africa to create awareness of CX trends, what is happening globally and also in Africa, empower individuals and organizations and CX skills, tools, and the knowledge. We are the to-go-to solutions provider on matters customer experience to organizations of all sizes and industries. And pretty much that's the journey we are embarking on. Our programs, we have the World of CX Weekly Breakfast virtual conversations, which beautifully today is our session that we'll be talking about the champion, the customer experience champion. Then we have monthly CX champions webinars, and we'll be having more information around this. We have customer experience in-person trainings as well as customer experience bootcamp for leaders. You know, sometimes you just want to put leaders away and say, can we reflect? Can we, have a bootcamp and experience building skills and getting to know the knowledge about the industry, etc. And also customized experience trainings, which are in-house, specific to individual. Different businesses have different needs, and because of that, it's important that we have customized trainings as well. Faculty members, we have none other than the first one, Dr. Lucy Kiruthu, the faculty member. We have Paul Kitemo, and then yours faithfully, Duncan Juma. We are faculty members at the CX Academy. Okay. I think I had shared the PowerPoint that I'll shortly be then inviting us to appreciate the caliber of the speaker for today. And I will be walking us through that shortly, just to appreciate the kind of person that we have today. And I'll be asking Paul if you're able to have the PowerPoint slide that will enable us do that, that will be great. But maybe what I can do is I can just share what I have, and I'll quickly jump into helping us appreciate the speaker for today. Okay, Paul, can you confirm that you can see my screen? Yes.
Not yet, Duncan. Maybe as we put up our speaker's profile this morning, maybe you can just unmute, not unmute, just go to the chat functionality and maybe tell us where you are, where you are tuning from, and also if your name is a font's name, iPhone 567, you could rename as we go along and dive into the conversation this morning. Duncan?
Okay, we good. Our speaker for today is none other than Wavi Mungala, Board Director, Institute of Customer Experience, Kenya. I'll quickly just walk through her profile. Wavi Mungala is an award-winning customer experience and communication specialist. She has 20 years experience spanning across the hospitality industry in the US, as well as banking and the public sector in Kenya. She's a board member of the Institute of Customer Experience, ICX, Kenya, chairing the Partnerships and Resource Mobilization Committee, founder and convener of the CX Possibilitarian Group, a networking forum of more than 400 senior and mid-level CX practitioners in Kenya, a member of the Public Sector Relations Society of Kenya, that is PRSK, having served in the Partnerships and Resource Mobilization Committee. She holds a BSc in Hotel Management from USIU Africa and MSc Management from Friends University in the US. She also holds a Program of Management Development, PMD, Executive Education Certification from Strathmore Business School, Kenya, that is, and then a Senior Leadership Development Program from Kenya School of Government. That is our speaker for today. And without further ado, I would like us to welcome our speaker, Wavi Mungala. Thank you so much. Karibu sana.
Can you hear me, Duncan?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Good morning and thank you, everyone.
Yes, I know they may not be able to unmute themselves, but I hear they can use the icons as well, just to appreciate. Karibu sana, Wavi, as you walk us through the championing. And you've lived this, so we are in very safe hands today as you walk us through this topic.
Awesome. Looking forward to the conversation.
Karibu sana. Yeah, so basically, Wavi, you will just jump into the meat proper of the CX championing. Maybe just walk us through what have you picked along the journey? What is this? Is it even necessary? What are we talking about when you talk about champion? Is it even necessary to have championing, people in organization championing this cause? So we'll just allow you to walk us through that route as we benefit this morning from your expertise and experience.
Yeah, great. So maybe just to kick us off. So, like what is a CX champion, right? And a CX champion is someone who is an advocate, someone who just truly advocates for and drives improvement in customer experience within the organization or whichever framework that they are in. So you're passionate about ensuring customers have got positive interactions with the organization across the various touch points. So being a CX champion is really that. You're an advocate for the customer, and not just the external customer, but also the internal customer. So that's what a CX champion is all about. Duncan?
Yeah, interesting. Maybe when we talk about CX champions, are there challenges that CX champions face, as well as do we then need competencies to even work as champions? Is there a need for, training, upskilling, and all that? So first of all, are there challenges? And then is there a need for upskilling and the competencies that are needed for us to actually champion this cause?
Look, when we talk about resistance, it's often said that a smooth sea does not make a skillful sailor, so that's an African proverb. And that's true for anything that we do. So are there challenges that CX champions face? Yes. And in my own experience, as you introduced my profile, so I can honestly say I didn't set out to be a CX champion in my early days in my career. It kind of grew over time. And then I got deliberate. That's how I got into the CX possibilitarian space. And now sitting on the ICX board. So have I faced challenges? Yes. What challenges do CX champions face? The first one is resistance to change, right? So resistance to change, because shifting towards a more customer-centric culture faces resistance, from your own colleagues. I think for many years, we've talked about CX, and it's been, in many places, you'll still have CX team leaders who are facing, it's lip service, so there is resistance to change. And additionally, implementing CX improvement requires changes to established processes, because people tend to be comfortable with the status quo, right? The other challenge that CX champions face are, silos and departmental fragmentation. So coordinating efforts across different departments can be very challenging, especially when the other departments have got their own priorities and objectives. How do you plug into that? The other one is something that all CX people face, limited resources, right? So you can have fantastic initiatives that you want to run, but they compete with other priorities for resources, So you're trying to ask for budget, and, typically it's your CX, comms, and marketing budgets that get slashed first, You're trying to compete for resources around manpower, and, you need additional staff, and, you're justifying upon justifying upon justifying, or even technological resources. So you find that, an organization could have planned, this is the list of, IT projects that will run, and you'll find that, you're scrambling to get your CX projects on the list of priority. So if there's like top 20, you'll be lucky that you're literally skidding in at number 18, and at that point you say, you know what, at least I'm on the list. That's what matters. And the other one is around data quality and accessibility. So you've got this fantastic idea. I want to do personalization. I want to say, dear Duncan, then the database says, hold on. The one that you're calling Duncan has been mapped as Doris, So you say, dear Duncan, Doris is like, huh? Me, I'm not Duncan, So sometimes those, data silos, incomplete data, inadequate data management practices make it difficult to access and analyze, the relevant customer data. And the other one is, and there are many, challenges, but external factors, that are typically beyond your control. Remember how we started 2020? You've planned for the year, you've got a game plan, and then COVID said, you have a plan. Me, I'm the plan for the year, So sometimes there are things that are beyond your control, macroeconomic conditions, regulatory changes, industry disruptions, pandemics, so they present additional challenges, for CX champions to navigate.
Interesting comments right there. Very, looks like across the terrain, I've seen a lot of organizations where they say, oh, CX is a support function. So really, we talk about it after we've realized what are they supporting and all that. And sometimes that has impact on the type of, or the numbers in terms of budgeting, the numbers in terms of headcounts and all that. And you've walked us through that. Then what you're painting looks like you need a particular set of skill sets to then navigate through some of these obstacles. And maybe as we talk about CX championing, what have maybe skills that have worked, just not for you, but how do we help CX champions navigate through these obstacles to actually champion the cause and build the experience that customers want, these challenges notwithstanding, or these obstacles notwithstanding?
Yeah, so I think what has worked for me, and typically has worked for other CX champions that I know, generally is number one, invest in continuous learning. This is really just anchored in a passion for understanding customers' needs, behaviors, and preferences. So you have to have a willingness to stay updated on industry best practices. You have to have a willingness to stay updated on emerging technologies and evolving customer expectations. So then you can be able to drive continuous improvement in CX efforts. So you cannot sit in your space day in, day out. You don't attend industry events. You don't participate in, forums like CX Possibilitarians, or joining Institute of Customer Experience Kenya, or attending a webinar like this one, by CX Academy. Put yourself out there. Invest in continuous learning. It's not about going back and getting a master's degree. Continuous learning is in many spaces. The second one is an appreciation for robust data analytics. So CX guys are not your typical trained accountant, engineer, or statistician or whatever, but you need to develop the skill set of putting in place a framework that can collect, analyze, and interpret data that is related to customer interactions. So build that skill set, so that then you can identify insights, trends, and areas for improvement. We tend to tell ourselves as CX guys, we are extroverts. We are, like myself, I'm a sunflower, but you have to build that skill set. You have to invest in it. You don't have to necessarily be the statistician par excellence, but you have to build that skill set so that you can put together the frameworks. The third one is something I've learned over time, and that is strategic alignment. You need to build the capacity to develop sustainable CX strategies and initiatives that are aligned with organizational strategic plans. All right. So do you even know what your strategic plan is for your organization? Do you? Where does CX sit? Is it even on the strategic plan? Where's the agenda for the customer? How are you championing that agenda for the customer? Are you speaking the language of business? All right. So if you're a flower girl for CS week, for cutting cake, and you're not partnering with the business the entire year, you cannot see yourself in the strategy, then you're going to face some challenges. So make sure that you're aligning with what's happening in the strategy. The next one, reminds me of a Nigerian proverb: a leader is a dealer in hope. All right. So you have to build leadership and communication skills. You have to be a dealer in hope, right? So build those clear and effective communication skills, for both internal teams and your customers, so that then you can rally teams around a common cause. Okay. So it doesn't mean that we are all motivational speakers. Imagine, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you still have to find a way to find initiatives and activities to rally, cross-functional teams to prioritize and execute CX initiatives. That means you have to have the energy. There are no shortcuts. If you come in looking like a rainbow chicken, then who's going to want to associate? And my final one around that is, being a CX champion, you have to be a champion for change. And you have to have the ability to navigate that resistance so that then you can make certain changes within an organization. And it doesn't have to be big bang changes. It's just to allow you to begin to implement CX improvements, that small incremental growth. That's where CX sits in. CX does not necessarily sit in big bang initiatives. If you're waiting for big bang, tangocha. So you just need to be consistent. So then while you're doing that, you're maintaining flexibility to adjust based on evolving customer needs and market dynamics. So if you are so rigid, then you're going to struggle, because when the business moves, then you have to be flexible. If there's restructuring, where are you seated? Are you a champion for change in that space? Or are you the one also crying and saying, wow, what is going to happen to us? right? So I think that for me is, the competency. So invest in continuous learning, have an appreciation for robust data analytics, ensure you've got strategic alignments, leadership and communication skills, and finally be a champion for change.
I like what I'm hearing. I love what I'm hearing. And what has jumped to me the most is I remember I used to work in a space where sometimes in CX, we wouldn't even sit in spaces where maybe the business is announcing their half-year results and all that. Sometimes we couldn't see the correct nexus between what we do and what the business is doing. And I think you're saying we need to amplify our voice and the connection and our contribution and see ourselves even part of the strategy that then, so it looks like actually it's a robust, have the knowledge, have the industry, have the tools, but also get to amplify your voice in those places. That's what I'm hearing. Maybe the question, a lot of times when you talk about CX in a lot of spaces, people think it's just anyone can pick up a skill, anyone can just talk to the customers and stuff like that, not knowing that actually there's a lot of tact and skill that is needed. Maybe from where you sit, is this then a role you play, or is it just something you become looking at your journey? I mean, you started from a slightly different space, but then you are a CX champion. So is it a role or is it a skill set you just build and run with it, or what is it? What is being a CX champion?
I think that's beginning to sound like the chicken and the egg, which comes before the other. But anyway, I think becoming a CX champion can be both a role within an organization and a way of life. While it might start as a specific job title or as responsibility, maybe you're the customer service supervisor, or you're this customer experience agent, or you're the manager in charge of customer success. It could start, as a role within an organization. I think what is important is that you gradually move towards ingraining your approach to business and your interactions with business, and get deliberate about it. I think my story for, being a CX champion, like I said earlier, was being deliberate about which space do I want to be in, where are CX champions, where are CX practitioners. And that's how I ended up starting CX Possibilitarians in 2020 during COVID, because then I asked myself, what are CX guys doing? How are they transitioning their contact centers to work from home? How are they still maintaining energy throughout this space? So you have to find a way of transitioning from it being a role to being a way of life.
I love what I'm hearing, Wavi, that really there's a level at which it becomes actually a lifestyle, that you're the champion. It's not just a role. I heard someone say sometimes when we are hiring, we say we have a role for you, but really you've said it goes beyond the role to actually infusing not just your passion. Maybe from where you sit, there are people who desire to actually move now from just playing the role to actually being the champion, living it as a lifestyle. Are there pointers that you could quickly just shoot at people with such a desire that they need to take it to the next level to be actually the champion? They could be playing the role, they're doing a good job, but they're not the advocates that you mentioned earlier.
Right. Yeah, sure. So if you aspire to be a CX champion, or something that you've been, thinking about, so here are my thoughts for you to consider. And the first one is develop a genuine empathy for the customer. So deeply understand your customer's needs and preferences, but more importantly, pain points. By actively listening to feedback and championing the voice of the customer within the organization. So that you have to develop, just that genuine, authentic, customer empathy. The second one is stay informed. It's your responsibility to stay informed on industry trends, best practices, and emerging technology. So, and within the organization, are you encouraging feedback from both internal stakeholders and customers? Or are you saying, You don't to disrupt the status quo, you know. So are you a champion for gathering feedback and insights? Are you a champion for identifying areas for improvement and measuring the impact of CX initiatives? So you must be a champion for staying informed. The third one is be data-driven, right? Talked about that earlier. So how are you going to identify opportunities for improvement if you don't have a framework for utilizing data analytics and identifying patterns? The fourth one is you need, it reminds me of this African proverb. Today, African proverbs are popping into my mind. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. All right? So you really must foster cross-functional collaboration and lead by example. So cross-functional collaboration, sometimes, you put certain sets of people in a room for a workshop, be ready to moderate, be ready to, people might want to go at each other, because people have strong opinions, but you have to be willing to be the one to foster cross-functional collaboration. And so that then it starts by building strong relationships with colleagues across different departments. So you have a responsibility first to build those relationships, right? So that then you can get them together to align towards a unified CX vision. But you must lead by example. So demonstrate commitment and behaviors in your own actions first, in your own interactions with colleagues and customers. So you can't talk about championing CX if you yourself are not living that kind of way. The fifth one for me, celebrate success. CX can be being a CX champion can be exhausting and it can be thankless. So work with HR, to recognize and celebrate successes, no matter how small. Yeah, so then you can maintain some momentum. First of all, to inspire yourself and then inspire others, because, even you, when you plug into those celebrations, you'll be like, yeah, I can do this, and you can be able to inspire others to prioritize CX efforts. Are you getting guys are you celebrating the top performers in NPS, CSAT, CES, so it's the little things that teams would appreciate. And finally, number 6, in terms of my thoughts around being a CX champion, is you need to be resilient. You need to be resilient. So anticipate those challenges and setbacks along the way, but stay focused towards the ultimate goal of delivering those exceptional customer experiences. It is said that the best way to eat an elephant in your path is to cut him up into little pieces. So be resilient and keep at it.
Awesome. There's this one question, Wavi. You've said a lot of nice things. I've enjoyed what you're saying. In fact, what jumps into me is that maybe your other colleagues may not understand the language you speak as pure CX, but if you have data that then helps you drive that agenda and say, hey, these are the risks, this is the data, that becomes very powerful. Paul, I know there's just one question before we'll allow Wavi to just make up a final shot for today. What is the question? Karibu sana, Paul.
Thank you. A number of comments, but so far one question from Angela Courier. She's asking, talk about how data protection may affect personalization in CX. I know that may not be exact line that we are discussing this morning. Maybe, Wavi, you could just hint on how this can be done, maybe not into details.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it takes me back to Duncan's question when he asked what challenges do CX champions face. And one of the things I talked about was data quality and accessibility. So you might have this database and you have to think about, can I actually send that SMS? Will it become, a data privacy, because, there are rules and regulations around, marketing and things like that. Or I say, dear Duncan, and, the message is going to Doris, so then you have customers now saying, what? That's a data privacy breach. I'm going to go to, ODPC and report you for not doing that. I think, look, one of the things that we need to do is not stop, communicating. it is, or engaging customers, it's first of all understand what regulations there are and follow the guidelines, from the regulators. So, are you going to have an opt-out, for an SMS, such that, if the customer doesn't want to receive this SMS, then they can opt out. That's really important, and then, see how to make the opt-out work, so those are some of the things that I would say around that. Duncan?
Thank you so much, Wavi. I think we have a couple of other questions. I will allow Dr. Lucy to be addressing them in a little while. But Wavi, maybe just your parting shot. As we allow you, you've been very kind to us to give us your thoughts around just being a CX champion. Your parting shot, Wavi.
All right. My parting shot is three things. Number one, being a CX champion requires commitment. It requires dedication. It requires strategic thinking and alignment to your organizational strategy, so then you can drive meaningful improvements. Number two, to become a CX champion is that you have to see the big picture, right? So it's not about winning and losing. It's about every day hard work and not being afraid to put in that effort, so then you can carry through your CX programs. And I will end with an Ethiopian proverb that says, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. Let me say that again. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. So this proverb really just highlights the power of unity and collective effort. And it suggests that even small entities, when united, can achieve significant outcomes. So in our world of CX, that's the impact of teamwork and collaboration. You will not get CX done by yourself. So partner with HR, partner with operations, partner with who you need to partner with to get it done. You will not get it done by yourself. At least that's been my experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wavi, for your time. And thank you so very much for just the insights around being a CX champion. You can use the emojis, signs, and just clap, and we celebrate you. Thank you for being a CX champion. Thank you for leading the CX Possibilitarian team. Amplifying the voice, upskilling, engaging, and just getting the stories around CX going. Thank you very, very much. And I see a lot of people just celebrating you as well. What are you hearing? What are you hearing, guys? What are you, what has jumped onto you? What are these things you've picked from the topic for today? Maybe I'll go to Paul. Are there any questions? And would like to welcome Dr. Lucy to attend to one or two questions, even as we allow Wavi to have a very beautiful day. And thank you so much for your time, Wavi.
Thank you, Wavi.
Over to you, Paul, and Dr. Lucy. And thank you again, Duncan, for the fantastic moderation.
Thank you, Wavi. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, there's someone who is saying, I remember Wavi's email in our other lives that nobody wanted to be on the wrong side, though they had to do the right thing. So it looks like Wavi has been championing CX ever since. Wamburi says, this is all I needed to hear this morning. So even if Wamburi does not hear anything else today, if the world goes quiet, Wamburi has had everything that she wanted to hear. And a lot of people logged in from various places. As for me, I like the African proverbs. I think I've had proverbs from East Africa, West Africa, South Africa, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. Do you have a question around what our speaker has been talking about? Or do you have a comment? We are here with the one Dr. Lucy Kirudu. I also remember early years in my championing of CX, I would go to the Daily Nation, and there was always something written by one Dr. Lucy Kirudu. And my dream was, I hope one day I'll ever meet Dr. Lucy. And here we are. We are still championing this. I'm seeing Joki Ndongo. We've been championing CX in other forums. So do you have a comment? Do you have a question? You can just show by raising your hand, or you just post it on the chat. As I look at Nancy Mura, again, I've interacted with her on another live. How can one keep championing the voice of customer in an organization that's not necessarily customer-centric? I think, Dr. you will handle that. How can one keep championing the voice of the customer in an organization that's not necessarily customer-centric?
Yeah,
Maybe
thank
can
you.
take that for now.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to all that have joined us today. And when I think about being a champion, it's not just about winning, it's also about learning from our failures, And when we think about a champion, a champion excels in whatever it is that they do. They put in the effort. They demonstrate exceptional skills, an exceptional attitude, exceptional qualities. And as champions, we advocate. I want to believe that all of us joining in here today are champions, and we're championing customer experience in our organizations. But of course, there are times when you're in an organization and you're thinking, oh, wow, I'm the only champion. And the big question then becomes, how do I make everyone else a champion? And even looking back to my days in the corporate world, and I had an opportunity to work across different industries. And there's this one organization that I joined, and they didn't seem quite to understand what my role was. And I remember that what I did is to get the buy-in from the CEO. The minute we got the buy-in from the CEO, every other head of department was able to see the value. So what I would like to mention to the person who's asked the question, who was it, Paul, who asked the question?
It's Nancy Moran.
Nancy, don't give up. Please knock the door at your CEO's office. But as you knock that door, make sure that you're going with the data that shows, this is how poor customer experience is affecting our organization in terms of performance. Our CEOs and heads of departments like to see the data, show them what it means if you keep providing poor customer experience or not being customer-centric. And when you do that, then, in fact, I usually say CX is one of the fields that has a very easy buy-in, because the return on experience, what you're able to achieve in terms of customer retention, in terms of positive word of mouth, in terms of referrals, I like to even simplify it further and say, if you want each of your customers to refer you, they need to have had a great experience. And if each of your customers refer you, that's doubling of your customer numbers. Yeah. So Nancy, I would like to encourage you. Sometimes it feels like you're fighting. Sometimes it feels like you're the police, but you keep doing it. Incrementally, you're able to see the change. Paul, is there any other questions?
Fantastic. Yeah, some more comments. Eunice David says, thanks, Wavi. Of course, appreciating the speaker for the day. You've spoken about collaborating with HR to celebrate CX wins. Talk about how to partner or collaborate with HR and any other relevant department that will amplify CX. Maybe I'll look at another question so that you can handle them together. Jokindum is asking, how important is understanding human, read customer psychology when championing CX? Let me go again and read a great conversation here. We need a day to discuss the pain points in financial industries and how best to handle them. Duncan, that's in your docket. You've picked that. We need a day, not even an hour. Or Mwamburi, you meant an hour. Okay. So I think, Dr. you can handle the first two. How do we understand human or consumer psychology when championing CX? And then also collaboration with HR to amplify CX.
Yeah, I think most of us in CX need to learn about psychology and human behavior, because we are really talking about human experience. And I know one of my mentors by the name Bruce Temkin has moved away from CX and is really focusing about the entire human experience. And the beauty about the human experience is that it brings together the people and the employees. And we start asking ourselves, why do people act the way they act? And we go back to looking at what is it that drives human behavior, and how can we then, as CX professionals, make sure that we have that understanding. So yes, Jockey, definitely it is important that we understand, that we study human behavior, because that will make it easy for us. I often like to say every human being is a unique individual. And therefore, you'll have one customer that walks in and they're such a great person. You'll have another one, they're on the extreme. And you need to be able to handle both and handle them in a way that they still feel good about being your customers. And it's often said that people who studied psychology, they also become very good leaders. Yeah, so it's an area that all of us need. And probably, Paul, we could even have another conversation around that. And we could even bring a psychologist on board, you know. Yeah, and break that down in terms of how do you then understand why people act the way they act. I remember many years back reading that book, Why We Act the Way We Act, and it really helped to break down the personality types. And it's important that all of us in CX have an understanding of the different personality types so that we can be able to work with different people with different personalities, and none of those personalities is really more valuable than the other. Then the other question about collaboration, yes, we need to get everyone on board. You know, many of us we sometimes feel like CX is a department, and it's really not a department. It needs to be a way of life within an organization, and for us to make it a way of life, we need HR. Yeah, we need the people managers on our side. They need to understand what it means to build our people's skills, what it means to create a healthy organizational culture, what it means to have customer experience as one of the key KPIs, how we manage the entire employee journey from end, how we onboard the staff, you know, what do we tell them? I remember there's one organization where we needed to make sure that everybody knows how phones are picked up at the organization during the onboarding process. And yes, beyond HR, even finance people, you know, I like to say to finance people, when you're looking at those numbers, don't just see them as numbers, you know, that's coming from the customers, because without them, the customers, there's even no money for the finance people to be able to manage. And therefore they need to manage the customers with care, because sometimes the finance people have to interact with their customers. You know, they're probably doing debt collection, you know, or they're doing the invoicing, or the customers are asking for the statement and it's taking a month for the statement to be ready. And in addition to people, you know, you think about operations. Really, operations is about service delivery. When you think about technology, hey, you people in CX, I hope we are all in there, in technology, leading those conversations, because it's not technology for the sake of technology. It's really technology to ease the customer experience. And therefore, we need everybody on our side as CX professionals, which then means that we must build on our people's skills. We must build on our emotional intelligence. We must build on our on how we manage relationships with everybody within the organization, starting off with the CEO to the heads of the departments to everybody else within the organization. But they need to understand what is the purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing, so that you're then not seen to just push them, but make sure that it's very, very clear the kind of objective. And next week, we'll be talking about designing a customer experience strategy. And one of the steps in designing a customer experience strategy is really to have a clear vision of what it is that you're trying to achieve as a CX professional. Also, very, very key in collaboration is how we communicate. You know, are we communicating effectively? Are we keeping people updated? Are we showing respect to the others? You know, how well are we in terms of solving the problems or supporting other departments to solve the challenges that they could be having around customer experience? Probably they are the ones causing customer pain. How are we assisting them? How are we assisting them in doing root cause analysis? Yeah, so there is quite a lot. In fact, I often say our plate is full, Paul. As CX professionals in organizations, there's so much for us to do. Any other question that has come through?
Fantastic. No question at the moment. Maybe they are still being typed as we wait to hear questions from different people. A comment from Angela Amaj from ICX. She says there's a question around the Mwamburi's question about financial industry. There will be a roundtable organized by ICX. I want to believe you know ICX. They are our collaborators. We are working together, and therefore you may want to log in and attend that roundtable. Doris Rono says, thanks to Wavi. Yeah, in absentia, she's speaking somewhere else. She's that kind of a champion who is championing CX. She's somewhere else. She has already left. She has left the group because now we are discussing about she's elsewhere. That's why the collaboration with cross-functional teams is key for customer centricity in the organization. It's a culture. They say customer service or customer experience is not a department or a desk. It's a culture and an attitude in an organization. Okay, so we don't have a choice but to collaborate. Yeah, and one of these days we'll be talking about winning from within. You cannot win if you work in silos. What question do you have for Dr. Lucy before we take it back to one Duncan Juma?
Yeah, and Paul, when we talk about cross-functional teams, I don't know how many within your organization have like a customer experience council or a customer experience team, that goes beyond your own team, that is cross-functional, that sits together and looks at the customer data, that sits together and addresses the customer pain points. And when you make that team cross-functional, and often I like to say, you don't have to look for the junior staff to be in that team. Have the heads of department in that team. And of course, in terms of championing CX, as CX professionals, it doesn't mean that we have to have one person in a department or in a branch that is championing customer experience. Our aim should be to make every person a CX champion. Yes, you can have lead champions that coordinate the activities, but try and ask yourself, what is it that you must do within your organization to make everyone, from your CEO to the guy at the gate, how do you make them champion customer experience, And I think just reflecting back on what Wavi has said, we can be able to use the data that we have to push our agenda forward. We need to build our team's skills. There is no end to learning in customer experience. We need to ask ourselves, where are the gaps? Is it our induction process? In fact, with many organizations, I've seen a major gap in terms of how people are inducted, whether it's a new guard or whether it's a new head of department. How are they inducted on matters customer experience? Because when we induct them well, we start telling them, this is our way of customer experience. At ABC organization, this is how we do it. You may have done it differently in the other organization, but for us to be able to stay at the top, for us to make our customers want to stay with us, these are the things that we do differently. Yeah, Paul, I don't know whether there's any other question. And if someone wants to speak, they can also raise their hand and they can be unmuted to ask the question like,
Somebody by the name customer service, they decided they cannot just be called by the other names. Customer service. As CX champion, we need to stay a step ahead of service. How can we change some culture which is driven by senior management? Culture driven by senior management, and we need to change it. Customer service, I wish you could rename yourself and we see who is behind this big question.
Yeah. And of course, in terms of where culture rests, it rests with the leadership. And I usually say, I don't know how many of you have read the book by Robin Sharma that talks about leading without a title. I believe that if you're in customer experience and you want to champion it, it doesn't matter that you're not in senior management. You can still be able to champion it from the front line. And again, what I find very, very Pius, Pius is the name of our customer service champion. That's what he calls himself. It doesn't matter where you sit within the organization. You can be able to champion CX. I look back to when I was very early in my career, and we had a complaint. I was in the fast-moving consumer goods. We had a complaint from a customer, and we dug deep. We did root cause analysis. I wasn't in senior management, but we did root cause analysis, and we convinced the senior leadership that we needed to change an entire system because the system was causing the product to have some defaults. So, Pius, what I would like to encourage you is use what you have. Is it customer feedback that you have? In fact, customer feedback is very, very powerful. It's a powerful voice. If you have customer complaints, use that, analyze that, and say, you know what, this is the state of customer experience. And if we continue this way, in fact, do the projections that if we continue making our customers feel dissatisfied with our services, this is where we are likely to head. We are likely to lose the customers. We are likely to injure our reputation. So as a champion, it doesn't matter your level. And yes, of course, in organizations where you feel there's a lot more that needs to be done, you will realize in the next about 2-3 years, organizations, or even looking back the last 5 years, a lot of organizations have transitioned from being internally focused to focusing on the customer because they have seen the value. I said a little earlier that it is so easy to show the value of customer centricity. Call those leaders into a meeting, tell them you have some insights to share with them, and they will show up, by the way. And after that, the kind of conversations that will be happening in that boardroom will be different. So I would ask you to have the courage to do what needs to be done, because it's good not only for the customer, it's good for the organization. And Pius, I'm hoping that next week you'll be having a senior management in a room and having that conversation, having prepared a paper on why we must focus on the customer. Let me share, Paul, an example that in terms of when I was back in the corporate world and I joined this organization. It's the first time, of course, then we used to call it customer service. So I was heading customer service and I got into the organization. I was like, wow, where do I start? Guess where I started? I started by meeting the key clients and I did a one-on-one with the key clients. We had a feedback session. It had happened. After I shared the report from that meeting or some sort of interviews with the clients, the CEO called an emergency meeting. I was not even reporting directly to him. I was reporting to the sales and marketing director. The CEO called a meeting. We did so much in terms of actioning from the feedback that we had received. And in fact, one of the actions that we even implemented from that was that the CEO now would then have a one-on-one meeting with the clients. Can you imagine? The CEO decided, you know what, the next feedback sessions, I'm the one who is going to sit in with Lucy so that we can get this feedback together and he can hear it from the horse's mouth. Yeah, so I would like to encourage all the CX champions here. Keep at it. Keep at it. It's an exciting career and there's a lot for us to do. There's a lot for us to do. Paul, is there any other question?
Wow. I took a pause just to learn, and I'm hearing that I should not go to my senior members or leadership team with gut feeling that I feel like, no, go with number, go with data, go with facts, and you will win. I think we may sit here and continue enjoying this conversation, but what is this one topic, listeners, you would like us to discuss in the near future? Already we've picked two pain points in the financial sector: data protection and customer centricity and personalization. That's another one. What's this one area you feel you need us to discuss as we continue getting deeper into these conversations? Since there's no other question, I think I want us to show some love to Dr. Lucy for handling these questions on the spot. As I ask, I'm waiting to see some emojis there. I'm not moving without emojis. Fantastic. So as we ask Duncan to tell us, what else are we expecting in the coming days? Take it up, Dr. Duncan. Yeah, in waiting.
I like the way you've called me Dr. Duncan.
In waiting.
I hope
I prophesied,
prophetic. Prophetic. First of all, thanks to Wavi for walking us through that journey around, and Dr. Lucy for the insights as well. What is coming up in the month? Of course, we have the CX Champion online training program. This one is pretty much targeting actually upskilling the customer experience champion. One, understanding and meeting and exceeding customer experience expectations, setting service standards, effective communication. These are some of the topics that we'll be dealing with. This is a month on month, and there will be a graduation coming after going through these modules as you learn to be a CX champion. It's an online one. The first session is coming up on Thursday, the 14th, March 2024. I would like you to jump in, sign up, be part of this conversation. It'll only cost you an investment of 6,250 shillings. Apart from that, of course, we still have the CX virtual breakfast conversations happening every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. We have a beautiful topic coming up, designing a CX strategy. This one will cost 1,000 shillings, an investment of 1,000 shillings, because this one is specific targeting to have us just look at how do we design a CX strategy. And for your benefit, on Tuesday, 7:30, this will be important for us to join in. It'll cost you 1,000 shillings. We have a foundational customer experience course for everyone, every member of staff who needs to go and be skilled building a foundation, considering that a lot of people don't come with a CX background, and this foundational customer experience course will prepare one for just not the career in customer experience, but you'll be equipped with skills and knowledge and attitudes that will give you a solid foundation in this subject area. Some of the topics, of course, you can see: introduction to customer experience, understanding and meeting customer needs and expectations, effective communication, EQ, emotional intelligence and CX, handling difficult situations, and planning for excellence. Very important for you. But I like this customer experience bootcamp for leaders. We have leaders gathering in select locations, and for a 2-day experiential learning session will be happening. You'll get your details, of course, but the first bootcamp is on the Thursday, 21st to Friday, 22nd of March at Sawela Lodge, Naivasha, an investment of 63,800 for this leaders bootcamp. It is an experiential learning journey that will keep you for strategies for CX success. And of course, you can see the course modules: the CX lens, the CX leader redefined, global trend, the CX project, and winning together. This is important for leaders. If you want to champion and take leadership in the CX space to the next level, the bootcamp for leaders is important, coming up on the 21st to Friday, 22nd of March. That will be important for you. We would like to thank you for attending our webinar. You can reach us with the contacts and details showing on your screen: cx@cxacademy.africa, and our phone number is 0701 873 777, +254 701 873 777. You can also visit us for more information on our website, www.cxacademy.africa. It's been beautiful and important to have you. It's always a joy having you, and thank you for participating. Share this love. Look out for our communications. Share this information with your friends and families. In CX, in fact, in NPS, the conversation we're saying, would you recommend this training to your friends and family? We would like you to share with those you feel would benefit from these conversations, and we'd like to wish you a very beautiful day. I'd like to hand back to Paul, Dr. Paul.
In waiting. Thank you, Duncan. As we stop sharing that, I want us to show some love to Duncan. And we are seeing a number of topics that you wish discussed. One person is saying, take us through culture change. How do we perform culture change? Yeah, we will be discussing that in the near future. Somebody saying, how do you handle difficult customers? Actually, in the foundational course, we have a module, how to handle difficult situations. Somebody's talking about breaking silo mentality and making a CX champion. These are topics that we'll be handling in the near future. And somebody is talking about how far is the customer the king? Are we still talking about the customer is the king? How far is he from becoming the king? Or how far is he after we have dethroned this king? What other topic? It was a great session. Great to see quite a number of you who have been consistent, new faces today. And we hope next week as we discuss CX strategy, you don't want to miss this. So we will be getting off shortly. We'll leave it for a minute for you to post your comment, and feel free to go out there and champion CX as we see you next week, as we meet for the foundational, and as we meet a number of you in Varsha. I will be there, definitely. Have a great one. Sammy Mobile, yeah, always a pleasure having you. One of these days you will speak. Okay. Asanteni sana, siku njema. Watu wangu wa kutoka Dar, siku njema.